So our next speaker is going to be Kurt. I met Kurt, like I said, back in last year in April in Arizona up in the mountains. And at the boot camp, I took my son. The one that's coming up in March, I'm taking 9 of them, just like Lee. I'm taking my two son-in-laws, I'm taking 3 of my adult grandkids, and I'm taking 3 of my sons. And we're going up there. And like him, I got over 50 grandchildren. And it's like, who are these kids and why do they keep calling me grandpa, but I'll tell you, having no money at the end of the year and stuff because of Christmas, but it's life-changing. It's about transformation. It's not about blaming other people. It's about taking your own responsibility, you changing, become more Christ-like. You don't transform over one day. It's your whole life. You get on that road for transformation. I see myself going to this warrior boot camp probably every year for the rest of my life with my kids and grandkids and drawing close to them and having the experience and things that Lee has. So I'm going to introduce you. This is Kurt Francom. He's one of the ones who started the warrior boot camp, and he was very inspirational in my life and helping me. And it's funny how he just popped into our lives right in the middle of this project. And it's like, what a coincidence, So coincidence is a God's way of remaining anonymous, is what I found out. So here's Kurt.
Thank you.
You got one of those leveler mics too, don't you?
I'm ready to go. All right, I want to show just play a song for you. I want you to just internalize the words. I think it articulates the mental health journey that a lot of men have. So everybody in here has a story, right? As Brene Brown says, nobody rides for free. If we had time and capacity, we could line everybody up in here and hear your story. We would be heartbroken. We would weep together, right? There's probably some men that listen to that and relate a lot, and others are like, well, I don't know, I'm not sure. And this journey of understanding men's mental health it's a tricky one, right? Because I think they're okay. They seem fine, they go to work, they do this stuff. But maybe they don't, there's an inner battle going on, and that's maybe where we can sit with and understand. How do we build that community connection and overcome some of that? As has been mentioned, Warrior Heart is a nonprofit organization, and I'm on their executive team along with Chris. And all around the country, we put on 3-day, essentially retreats for men. And half of you are like, yeah, never going to that. I'm sure there's just a lot of war paint, loincloths, walking on coals. No, just 3 days to disconnect from your world and to focus on your relationship with God. And a lot of times, men don't take the steps to make time for themselves to do that. Right? Because we lose ourselves in this journey with our family. We want to show up for our family. We want to show up for our spouses, but we end up pouring everything out of us and even more somehow. And we don't know how to ground ourselves and find strength. So here's a question for you I'm just going to throw out is, when was the first time, your first time that you heard from God? And really go there. Can you pinpoint a moment for both of you, men and women? Maybe there's a moment, the first time that God spoke to you. And I want you to just hold on to that memory if you have one. Maybe it's too fuzzy. Maybe it's too long ago, right? I'm going to show you a few clips, a few trailers. And I want you to just pay attention to, especially you men in here, to the emotional impact that these stories have on your heart. So when we hold these men's retreats, these boot camps, this is generally where we start to warm them up, because there's something about these clips that moves something in us. Anybody put a word or a phrase to that? What does it feel like for men? Adventure. Purpose. What is it? Danger, right? Yeah. So when was the first time God spoke to you? Naturally, when I ask this question, you may have gone to maybe some teenage years, maybe young adulthood, when you're with your Bible and kind of having a moment of, worship and connection with God. But God showed up in our life much further back, when we had interaction with story. There's something about story that connects us to our divine roots, right? Here's an example of, they did the same kid, one's watching a math video, and one was watching Star Wars. The time-lapse, you'll notice quite a discovery here. Now, this probably doesn't shock any of you. I would have gotten up and walked out of the room at this point, right? But there's something about story that God put into our hearts, right? When you get together with friends, men often go to a place of story. Do you remember the fishing trip, right? When Joe fell off the boat, right? And the laughter, the memories, the connection, right? So the first time that God spoke to me was as a 5-year-old watching Christopher Reeve on the screen fly around in a cape as Superman, right? Because I was too young to even read, let alone pick up a Bible and connect with God, but God was still showing up for me. So where did he show up for you, right? I once asked this question at a boot camp, and a guy there was... He talked with me after, and he said, when you first asked that question, my mind immediately went to this beautiful moment of when I was a 13-year-old boy, and I was like reading the Bible, in private, and just had this beautiful spiritual experience. And then when he showed me the Star Wars clip, I remembered back in the 1970s in the theater when the first Star Wars, A New Hope came out, I cried at the end. Yeah, that was God. You are in a larger story. You are in God's story. And he's inviting you into a miraculous, epic adventure. With battle, with an enemy that's trying to destroy you. It really is the greatest trick that the enemy ever played on you, is to convince you that he doesn't exist. That he doesn't exist. Does everybody still have your card? If you still have your card, pull it out. If you don't have it still, I can give you a new one, or maybe raise your hand if you need another one. You threw it away, that's all right. And I have a pen if you need a pen here. So you'll pass that down. And what I want you to do, pass it down there. Oh, yeah, you got a pen here too? Oh, perfect. And if you are a lady, right in the top left corner, an L. And if you are a man, write an M in the top left corner.
Just a pen.
Oh, a pen? Yep. Okay. And then I want you, for the men, I want you to write, what is the typical message? How would you summarize in one word or phrase the typical message you get from society as a man? And for you ladies, if you could just communicate one word or phrase to a man that you care about in your life, what would it be? So for the men, what is the typical message that you feel like you get from society, or from your church, or from your mother, or from your job, your boss? And for the ladies, what is the one word or phrase that you would most want to communicate to a man in your life? And then as you get those done, obviously they're anonymous. If you'll pass them to the aisles and then pass them forward. You got those? Perfect.
Yeah, don't cheat. Don't look.
Yeah, don't look. No cheating. Got those? Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Perfect. All right. These are all from the men cards here. So, got a full stack. We won't go through them all, but just interesting to see the general feelings that are maybe, oh, thanks, Lee. They keep coming. All right, men are worthless. Typical message, you are a child of God. If you're not able to live up to what the world or family think you should be, you are a failure. Your net worth is your worth. Provide for your family. Your feelings don't matter. Make more money. Work harder. No one cares. You need to build up and prove yourself first. Get a goal and provide for the family. Strong. Provide and be strong for others. Life is time to serve others. Be a provider, a patriarch. You are not enough. From the ladies, you're doing great. I love you. You amaze me. From a man up, bumbling, self-gratifying, right? Interesting to see the contrast in those, right? So maybe that video resonated with more men than not. There's this constant tension and pressure. And John Eldredge said this, most messages for men ultimately fail. The reason is simple. They ignore what is deep and true to a man's heart, his real passions, and simply try to shape him up through various forms of pressure. Maybe if we apply the right pressure, maybe if we rehearse over and over again messages of duty and providing for your family, then you'll start doing that, right? Have you considered not playing video games? Have you considered not looking at pornography? I know, we're really got groundbreaking research here tonight, right? We don't know often how to hold the man's heart other than to sort of squeeze and prod and pressure it into a certain direction. But what did God put in that heart, right? Genesis 1:27, God created man in his own image, male and female. He didn't say God created two types of humans, one that's sort of an extrovert, one sort of an outrovert. He created people that are left-handed, some that are right-handed. No, he clearly set the category, made the differentiation of that God created male and female with the assumption that he put something in each one of those hearts, right? And Lee talked about this, some core desires, right? And you'll see this in the life of young boys. I have an 11-year-old son named Taysom. A few years ago, as we still do, but he loves to go to the grocery store with me. Because why? He gets a treat, right? And so one day I was like, all right, Taste, let's, I got to run to the grocery store. Why don't you come with me? He's like, just a minute, Dad. And this is how he showed up. And he's just like strutting around that store like, I'm Spider-Man, right? I didn't teach him this, right? It reminded me as a young boy getting on my Superman cape to go to the store. Sometimes putting it under my shirt just because, I got to keep a low profile, right? But consider this. I didn't teach him this. I didn't say, hey, when you go out in public, dress up like a superhero. There's something God put in his heart that said, you are a superhero. I am not of this world. I'm God's boy, right? It's that identity that God came for our identity from the beginning. As little Kurt sat in front of that TV, he was reminding me, Kurt, you're Superman. You're going to be strong enough to show up for people. You're going to be strong enough to save people, to serve people, to change the world. But over time, that message gets corrupted, right? And we lose ourselves. We lose our identity and all that. So it's interesting. I've probably done 25 plus of these Warrior Heart boot camps, facilitated them, attended. And it's interesting to kind of survey the type of man that shows up. There's the one category, man, where life is in chaos, right? Going back to Lee's story of the wife just left me with 5 kids, right? It's hard to fake it in that state, right? Even though we still try. Or people on the edge of, we've literally had men the morning of coming up to boot camp be served divorce papers. Enjoy your retreat. You'll hear from my attorney, right? So like this state of chaos. Then there's this next phase of this next category of just sort of this tension. Like life is okay, but there's just this tension of like, when does this get better? Is this just how life is? Am I always just trying to keep my head above water, trying to stay ahead of the projects, barely making it? And then there are those in the third group, which is the, I'm fine. Anybody relate to this? I'm fine. Right? Yeah. Good news, guys. Lee's here. He's the president of your club, I'm Fine Club, right? Now this is, and I get it, like, and you're sitting there listening to me like, no, serious, Kurt, I am fine. Like you follow me around with a camera all day, you'll see that I'm fine. I never like pull over and weep in my car, right? I'm not sneaking away to look at porn. Like I'm actually fine. Okay, I believe you. I just want to like speak man to man and say there may be a stage 2 cancer happening. Because if you're fine, why on earth do you need a redeemer? You've never been wounded in your life? Or maybe you figured out a pose, a shield of I'm fine. You can never know what happened to me in the past, right? Because it really doesn't matter. I wasn't abused. It would almost be an insult, right? And I heard this from one man at a boot camp where he said, I'm so nervous that if I don't say I'm fine, then God will consider me ungrateful. Ooh, that's fair, right? But if you are in the Fine Club, I'll see you at the next club meeting, but I want you to lean in to maybe wrestle with the question of, then why do you need a Savior, right? So these categories, these types of men that show up, they go on quite an experience, and every one of them will have an experience. And I showed up to boot camp, my very first boot camp, late. Why? Because I was fine. Why do I got to go to your silly boot camp? You're meant and hug each other and sing Kumbaya. Like, what is even happening there? I'm not going to miss anything because I'm fine, right? Oh, but God had a whole different journey for me. So John Eldridge talks about these 3 core desires that he's put into every man's heart: a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a beauty to love. And so regardless of what category you see yourself in, instilling that hope that Chad talked about often goes this place of like, how do you manifest these core desires in your heart? Battle, adventure, beauty. The first one being a battle to fight. Men need a place to go to war in some essence. Not because to fight for fight's sake, but you'll see it many in the, say, professional athletes. I love listening to old interviews with Kobe Bryant. The Mamba mentality. He was focused on the championship trophy. Every man needs a trophy to hoist. Right? Now, I'm going to show you a very interesting result of a research study. A group of scientists went out and captured men having an emotional experience. I know, you don't believe me. Many of you are sitting here saying, oh, Kurt, that's silly. Men don't have emotional experiences, right? They keep it so buried that it's almost impossible for a man to have an emotional experience. And a lot of the women are like, yeah, exactly. This is fascinating. What sort of country, village did they go to? Well, they captured these clips and they strung them all together. And I'm going to show that to you. Men having an emotional experience. Every man wants to win. Every man wants a team. Every man wants a brotherhood. Turns out the men are quite emotional when they're living from their core desire that God put in them, right? I mean, imagine if I greeted some of you men this evening with one of those jump like leg hugs. You'd be like, somebody call the police. This man is out of control, right? But if we win the championship together, if we win the big game together, I'm coming at you with a big, fat leg hug. Okay? Kyson, you played Division I basketball, right? Was there a brotherhood there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And you're done with that now, right?
Yes, sir.
Is brotherhood still there?
Yes, sir.
A little bit more complicated this time, right?
Now it can't.
That's right, a boot camp, right? Unfortunately, many of us fall into the Uncle Rico syndrome. We're like, oh man, you should have seen me back in the day, right? Come, I got the tapes. Well, come over to my house and we'll watch them, right? We still yearn for the glory days of the battle, but you still need it. This is what will reveal your identity that Chris was talking about, is when you're in the midst of that war, that battle. You need a brotherhood to do it with, right? You can't battle alone. And so for the spouses here, when your man's having a hard day, maybe go to that place saying, where are you finding battle in your life? Where do you find brotherhood? What sort of camping trip do you need to go on in order to find that, right? Because he cannot provide the strength necessary to your family without that core desire alive in his heart. Okay? So I'm going to invite Jacob. He's going to come up and share how a battle to fight has shown up in his life. He loves this kind of thing, you can tell.
So don't battle alone. Working? Are we good? So don't battle alone. Where do you find brotherhood? Like Kurt was saying, Warrior Heart Camp encourages men to tune in and battle for each other's hearts and provides opportunities for men to tune their hearts into Christ and heal. If you haven't seen it yet, there's been a lot of hugging tonight. I can guarantee you there's a whole lot more hugging at camp. And here. So I'm going to tell you a story real quick about going to Utah camp. Dad, John, would you stand over there? Juan, would you come up here, right here? So there's the camp in Natchez in Washington, and then there's camps down in Utah, and the camp is just beautiful. There's this big red barn with great food and awesome stuff. When you come out of the barn, there's like this rocky path, and there's this small bridge that goes off to the campsites. And by the second day, you know each other, you've embraced each other. And there's this one gentleman, his name was Mark. And he's walking away from the barn, and he crosses over the bridge, and he turns around, and he extends his arms out to give me a hug, right? Yeah. Like, what man reaches out to give another man a hug, right? So he turns around on the bridge like this. And so I'm walking towards him, and I'm like, oh, I'll give him a hug, right? So I go to hold him. And what's the traditional amount of hugging time, Chris? Like 3 seconds, right? That's the typical man hug for women, though, don't know, right? So Mark goes to release. I don't release. I keep holding him. And as I'm holding him, my son walks up, and he comes and he holds me. And then another man crossing the bridge holds us and holds us and holds us. And before too long, there's 7, there's 8, there's 9 men holding my friend Mark's heart at camp. So Mark breaks down in tears, bawling, embraced in the warmth of these men. He's been through some shit. I won't get into, but people ask me, thank you. People ask, they're like, hey, Jacob. Ugh. Hey, Jacob, why do you go to camp? You've been to 3 camps this year. You went to 2 Utah camps, and you went to an Idaho camp. And it's for experiences like that, where we're fighting for each other's hearts, where we're opening up our hearts to other men in ways and opportunities that you don't get in the workplace, that you don't get at Fred Meyer in the park, right? This is my dad. This is John, Rose. Ugh. So at my first camp, I felt pretty strongly that I should invite my dad to come to camp. This was early last year, and I blew it off because I was strong, and I was fine. And then I went to another camp. I guess I'm headstrong, and I felt strongly that I should invite my dad to come to camp. And I was like, ugh. It took 3 camps for me to invite my dad to come to camp. And I really appreciate you coming and being here.
I said yes. Said, what took you so long?
All right. Thank you. Thanks.
Awesome.
Anyway, fighting for the hearts of men, that's what it looks like.
Awesome. That's right. The brotherhood that's there. Now, yeah, thank you. And those of you sitting in this room in the I'm Fine Club, you're thinking, so I go to this thing and I get ambushed by hugs? That's more atypical, but it's always, it's not the tip, I don't want you to worry about that, but a battle to fight. Men need it. Men need it. The next core desire is an adventure to live. And I want to show you a clip from that demonstrate this well from a movie called Never Cry Wolf. And Tyler is this academic guy. Probably never been camping in his life. But he feels a call to the wilderness to go out to Alaska and study the wolves. And on his journey, he finds a bush pilot named Rosie that has quite the lesson to teach him about adventure. Adventure, Tyler. Are you bored? Are you stuck in the grind of work? Adventure. Take that question to God. How do you find adventure? I'm going to have Kyson come up and talk about how he finds an adventure to live in his life.
Thank you, sir. First of all, he asked me this 5 minutes ago. No time to prep. I
least
swear.
10.
No, I was up here giving this guy a hug, and Kurt was like, "Hey, would you mind talking about this?" I was like, "Sure, I'll do my best." So I jotted a couple things down. Apologies for not being as good of a speaker as these guys, but I wanted to read two things that. Can everybody see me? Am I fine to sit down?
Oh, you're sitting. Okay.
Well, get to your height. Yeah.
I'm used to it. It's fine.
I wanted to read a couple things that John Eldredge said in his book about finding adventure. Life is not a problem to be solved. It's an adventure to be lived, and that's the nature of it. God rigged the world in such a way that it only works when we embrace risk as the theme of our lives, which is to say only when we live by faith. A man won't be happy until he's got adventure in his work, in his love, and in his spiritual life. So what are you waiting for? What are we waiting for? Where would we be today if Abraham had carefully weighed the pros and cons of God's invitation and decided that he'd rather hang on to his medical benefits, 3 weeks paid vacation, and his retirement plan? What would have happened if Moses had listened to his mother's advice to never play with matches and lived a careful, cautious life steering clear of all burning bushes? Where would we be if Jesus was not fierce and wild and romantic to the core? Come to think of it, we wouldn't be at all if God hadn't taken the enormous risk of creating us in the first place. Most men spend their energy of their lives trying to eliminate risk or squeezing it down to a more manageable size. Their children hear no far more than they hear yes. Their employees feel chained up, and their wives are equally bound. If it works, if a man succeeds in securing his life against all risk, he'll wind up in a cocoon of self-protection and wonder why he's suffocating. If it doesn't work, he curses God and redoubles his efforts and his blood pressure. So to talk a little bit about myself, my invitation here to everyone tonight, men and women, is to go find your adventure, to find the voice of the Lord and to live it, even if it means jumping off the deep end blindly. My adventure I've discovered since camp has been actively listening, like really listening and trying to hear the voice of the Lord, then acting on that prompting and letting the outcome be. No matter what it is the Lord asks me to do, I'll do, and I've been doing. Not to say that I'm perfect, because I'm not. I suck a lot, just like everybody else. But I'm listening and I'm trying my best. Some things I found in that is beginning to travel the world, leaving my comfy salary job to take on a different role that's fully commissioned, or signing to a professional basketball team when I'm not even healthy enough to play right now, or moving into an apartment with my best friend just because. I'm seeking that adventure, and I trust that God will take care of me and guide me, and it's not to say it'll all be sunshine and rainbows, because it's not. He's given me battles that feel insurmountable, suffocating, and crushing, but I know he's watching over me and leading me to become my best self here on earth and in my soul for eternity. So that's been a little bit about my adventure and my learning, and so I'd encourage you to go find yours. Thank
Awesome.
you, Kurt.
Thanks, man. That's awesome. Appreciate it. So your story didn't conclude anywhere. It's still going. And God is inviting you into something. And it probably feels a little risky. God loves it when you step into risk because it makes you rely on Him more, right? And if it's a risk He's inviting you into, I think you'll be okay. And this journey, God didn't give us an instruction manual with a list of rules to guide us in life. He gave us a book full of adventure, right? Modeling to you how He can take the ordinary into a beautiful adventure to sanctify you. It's incredible. All right, and the final core desire of a man's heart is a beauty to love. This one gets a little complicated. I don't know if you've noticed that, those of you that have a beauty in your life. But it is crucial, right? God endowed that union for something more, even though it's super complicated. So I want to show you a clip of what it looks like for a man to step into a complicated relationship and battle for the heart of his beauty, rather than just be the nice guy and make sure everything's good. He goes after her and her dreams and her larger story. Complicated, but battling for her heart. And it's so beautiful to see the men come to this experience and with this deep desire of, he wants to be tender with her heart. And he's tried so hard, but he often doesn't know how or where to start. And to see God enter his story and encourage him along that path is incredible. I've asked Todd to come up and talk about ways that he's found a beauty to love.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to have a couple beauties that I've loved and pursued, and I won't go. I have a pretty extensive story, but I'll back up about 12 years, 13 years. I was married, only 8 months married, and I was out sledding with some friends at the sand dunes in the middle of winter in Rexburg, Idaho.
Adventure.
We were having an adventure, and me and my buddy, we were hitting some jumps with these on tubes, and we looked like rag dolls hitting those things. No wonder we didn't walk away with any broken bones. My wife was not so lucky. She was very cautious, and we encouraged her to go down, sitting on this tube, and she severely broke her back. And 8 months, no health insurance, poor college kids. I was terrified. What do you do when you break your back? That's a permanent injury. This is life-changing. My worst fears came true. And I was called into an adventure that I didn't want to be a part of. I was called in to rescue a beauty that it wasn't the way I would have done it. But we made it through, and I learned to love my wife in a pretty amazing way during that. Fast forward 5 years and 2 kids. She gets diagnosed with cancer, stage 4 colon cancer. And for the next 5 years, I got a battle for my wife, and I had to show up. I was given an adventure to be strong, to not show weakness, to not show emotion. Eventually, my wife, through a roller coaster of chemotherapy treatments and many other adventures, passed away about 3 years ago. And my life was over. I was pretty broken. I was so broken, there was nothing left to hide behind. I didn't have anyone to show up for other than my kids, which I wasn't going to give up on them. But for the first time, no, I could have walked away from God and nobody would have judged me. I could have never showed up to church. I had the best excuse to be a crappy father or a crappy friend that you could come up with. I understood pain. And I found Jesus. I found God in an amazing way. And he changed my heart. And I had this opportunity to show up the week after my wife died for no one else, but to choose my own adventure, choose my own life, and to pursue another beauty. We had this joke, my wife and I, before she passed. And my friends, they kind of cringe when I say this. But she said, you have 9 months you can grieve, but you got to find the kids a new. So she said, you have 1 year to grieve, and then you got to find my kids a new mom. That's basically what she said to me. I have two little girls, and I said, done. I'll do it in 6 months. It's just joking. But I'll tell you of the second beauty, the one this is the battle I chose. Every day after my wife passed, I decided to show up. Because I wanted to. I sought the adventure. I began to date. I began to seek for connection and to find purpose in life and joy. Every day I woke up excited, even though I'd been through a hard thing. Yeah, the grief was there. And I found healing in God, but I found adventure and purpose in life and living. About 6 months after my wife passed, I was getting pretty burned out of the dating world. And Devin, who's here, can probably attest to where I was at this point. I I remember reaching out to a widow who she lost her husband. And the night before, I was pretty burned out of relationships. I got on my knees and said, God, send me somebody I can share my story with. And this is something I added. I said, Heavenly, give me somebody who will love me as much as I'll love them. Give me somebody who will love me as much as I'll love them. I get a message the next morning from Kristen, my beloved wife now. And she says, hey, I'd love to hear your story. So we start talking, and right away she says, I'm so tired of this dating scene. I just want to find somebody who will love me as much as I'll love them. The exact words I prayed about the night before. I found my beauty to fight for. I accepted her and her 4 kids with my 2 kids. I went from 2 kids to 2 kids to 7 kids in 10 months. It was not the adventure I would have picked for myself, but I embraced it, and I love it. Surprise, 3 weeks after we were married, she's pregnant. We weren't planning on having any more. So we have a little baby Hope in our life. I want to tell you that when you have a beauty to fight for, when you have a reason to get up every day and an adventure that you've picked for your life, it gives you purpose. Don't wait till that's gone to find that purpose. Because then you get to pick it yourself and you'll learn some things about yourself that way. But I love you, Kristen. Love you, brothers. Love you.
Awesome. Thanks, man. There's something about that relationship that you've probably met somebody who's been through tragedy or maybe an ugly divorce, and they swear off marriage, right? That'll last for some time, but it always beckons them back because it's a union endowed by God, right? And men need a beauty to love, a beauty to protect, to show up for, to offer strength for, regardless if she needs it or not. There's something that God put in us that we want to be the one that can step out onto the hiking trail between the family and the bear, because we feel purpose there. We feel divinity in showing up for our families, right? Just some quick resources. If you want to take a quick snapshot, if you want to really dig into men's work, these are some different books. I also, we've talked about Wild at Heart as well. I wrote the one on the far left. We have copies available in the back. And let me know if you're at all interested. I'd love to get you a copy, regardless if you have funds to pay for it or not. The reality is, at the end of the day, do you need, I don't mean for this to feel too much like an infomercial for this boot camp, but it's a transformational experience. Do you absolutely need to do it? No. But make sure you're finding battle, adventure, beauty in your life for you men. That you have a brotherhood that surrounds you, that you promise yourself to never battle alone, because it never works. Even recently, I've had a good friend who is really struggling quietly, and he had enough strength to reach out to me. And you know what he told me he was doing most recently? Talking about it with AI. And I'll be the first to say that probably will give you some good advice from all the scholars, right? But it will not last. You need real connection, real community, a brotherhood of men, because there's a hole in your heart that could only be filled by other men. And anywhere else we turn for that answer will be empty, because that masculine figure connects us with God. And no matter how many places you've gone to find relief or to just numb out or just survive another day, there's only one answer in life, and it's Jesus Christ, right? We orient ourselves with Him. That's where the strength will be, that we can then turn to our family and show up with strength to offer them. The last thing they want is for you to come home and dump your problems in the middle of the family room and say, look at this. Don't bother me, right? No, they want a strong father to come home. And God put it in you to find that. So Lee talked about these boot camp experiences. We had so many men coming down to Utah from the Tri-Cities, and like the Ostlers and others, they were bringing like 30 men, and we like look at it and be like, you know, we could probably come to you, right? And so we stepped into this adventure, and there's a lot of cost and expense and things that go on with this, and we've been burned a few times trying to start a place, a boot camp location. But we found in Natchez, I'm getting close to saying it right, in Natchez, September 24th. Oh wait, let me go back. That's the wrong slide. This is the slide I want. We're having it in March 19th through 21st. Now here's what we were like thinking, you think we can get 20 people, 30 people there? Maybe if all the Ostlers come, we'll be good, right? And then people started signing up a little too fast. And me and Chris are like, hey, we're going to this, like, speaking of this event, I don't want to show up there and be like, we're having one in March and it's sold out. Sorry, guys. Thanks for coming, right? And so we already stopped the registration, and all the alumni, the boot camp alumni in the Tri-Cities were upset at us. I was like, hey, wait, we got friends. I'm like, I know, but we got to save 10 spots for this group, right? So again, this isn't a hard sell. If you're kind of feeling like this would be something to disconnect from your busy world and focus on God on your relationship with God for 3 days, I have 10 of these registration cards. And I'm serious. If you come and get one from me, we need it back tonight, okay? Because in the next couple of days, we're opening these up and they will be gobbled up. But for you, and you have to be a first timer. So if there's alumni in here thinking, yeah, I'm going to go grab one of those. First timers, okay? First timers. And then if we have some left open, we'll open up to the alumni.
On Monday, we'll open it up.
On Monday. Chris is getting serious. All right. And then, of course, we panicked, and so we booked the same place for September 24th through 26th. And if you sign up for that this evening, you can use the code Father's Heart and get $200 off for that. And so we'll be back and have a much bigger venue that we can benefit from. So that's that. But thank you for being here. It's such a pleasure. This is my first Tri-Cities experience. And you guys got something going here. I'm going to go back to Utah and tell everybody to move here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to move here maybe, but no. But thank you for being here. And we pray for you. And we hope that you find the peace in these messages and encouragement. So we'll throw it back to Royland.
Give her a hand.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Definitely. This has been great. I'm looking forward to next month, and we really appreciate your support in coming here. So we appreciate Kurt, Chris, Lee, and Chad, and the other chubby little speaker who was up there earlier. But anyway, thank you guys for all coming, and we love you, and we hope that you keep supporting and keep going, and go back and check out the books and what you need to do to start transforming. And the guys will be hanging around to answer any questions you have. Come up and grab the cards. Believe me, once I've gone to the book, I am not ever not going again. So thank you very much, you guys.